Hello everyone, my name is Wei. I got the inspiration of the Capstone Project from my English learning experience. In my 20 years learning, reading comprehension is always considered the hardest and the trickiest part. Like all the ESL learners, I've made a lot of efforts in building up vocabulary bank and memorize the rules of grammar. But still, I found difficult to understand the implicit meaning that the author wants to tell. So I think maybe it's because the cultural differences hinder my comprehension on particular culture-loaded content. That is how my research topic comes from. In my literature review part, I did some researches about what cultural differences are. The existence of cultural differences is proved by research. It shows the different perceptions of Indians and Americans towards the same wedding passage. Influenced by different cultures, Indians concentrated on details of showing off economic capacity, while Americans concentrated on the contents of romantic layout. It proves that people influenced by different cultures may actually prefer content and create elaborations and distortions from the reading material. While reorganizing information from the literatures, I found cross-cultural differences have both negative and positive effects. Let's see the negative effect first. Schema theory. It tells us that all knowledge is organized into units. When we conduct the reading process, schema help us to associate our existing knowledge with reading content and facilitate us to comprehend unfamiliar knowledge. There are three types of schemas related to reading comprehension. Linguistic schema. It contains the linguistic features. If students apply one particular type of language for a long time, it's hard for them to convert to another language. So many ESL learners cannot understand associative meanings of some vocabularies, especially cultural loaded words, because they have already gotten used to the familiar language features. They need time to digest the new and unfamiliar language unit. The second schema is content schema. It refers to background knowledge of the test. If students' schema pocket does not include content of the reading material, they may fail to process comprehension smoothly. With less cultural familiarity, students hardly understand the passage with lots of cultural knowledge. That's why many teachers prefer to introduce the background knowledge before reading. The last schema I want to introduce is culture schema. It's more tough and complicated than linguistic and content schema. Cultural features always shape reader thinking habit because readers mostly make judgment by the influence of thinking habit. What if the Western readers read a passage describes a funeral, like a celebration? They probably may feel weird and disrespectful. But in China, when a couple passed away one after another, people cannot cry in the second funeral. Instead, people should feel happy for the couple because they can be together in the next life. Such misjudgment also occurs among the subcultures in American classroom. In a research conducted in 1982, it shows that African American students and Caucasian students have different understanding towards fighting signals. After the reading, two groups of students have opposite views towards the same language signal, and both groups distort the original meaning. The cultural schema results in the misunderstanding and inaccuracy of reading comprehension. However, cultural differences do not always cause negative influence. When students assimilate the cultural traits of another group, they can easily adapt to the new culture. This is called acculturation. It occurred mostly on immigrants. Another positive influence is cultural intelligence. It helps students improve reading efficiently. After a long period of acculturation, students not only acquire the cultural knowledge, but also the ability to quickly learn unfamiliar cultural knowledge and accurately comprehend implied meaning. So this is cultural intelligence. Since cross-cultural differences are prevalent in American classroom, teachers are suggested to learn how to weaken the negative effects and at the same time strengthen the positive effects. Suggested by researchers, there are two ways. Build up the cultural background knowledge and cultivate cultural awareness. Lecture of background knowledge has been applied by teachers for a long time. But the researcher points out that visual and verbal training materials are more effective. Teachers should use multimedia to improve the effectiveness of constructing the cultural knowledge for students. At the same time, emphasize on cultural loaded vocabulary to teach. Cultural awareness cultivation will be a long-term task. Activities like discussing cultural topic, comparing cultural differences, and finding out cultural similarities will help students deepen understanding of cultural differences. Once students accept and learn the cross-cultural differences, they may frequently learn from each other, and their reading comprehension will improve accordingly. In my project, I want to solve the problem for both teacher and student. Although there are many researchers prove the existence of cross-cultural differences, many teachers may not associate cultural factor with reading comprehension. Even they have found out the influence of cultural differences, they have less support on teaching tools. As to students, if they do not receive proper instruction of accepting the cultural differences, they may easily create the cultural biases and misunderstand the reading content. My goal is to help both teachers and students constructing the cross-cultural awareness, evaluate the existing cultural teaching methods, and offer teachers applicable instructional interventions. Since I'm out of a school setting, I will use teacher interview to collect data. There are two phases of teacher interview. In the first stage, teachers will be asked whether they believe cross-cultural differences exist in their classroom, how they view cross-cultural differences as an impact on reading comprehension. What instructional interventions or teaching tools they have tried to help enhance or weaken the influence of cross-cultural differences, and how they evaluate the teaching tools they have tried. Then I will give them the handouts of suggested activities and the evaluation forms. I will give teachers 2 months to implement those activities. Another round of interview will be conducted after 2 months testing trial. Besides the evaluation forms, they will be asked to talk about the teaching experience. Does instruction implement successfully? Are students interested in the activity? In what way does activity improve students' comprehension? And do they have any advices on improving the activities? Finally, the informative data will be reorganized and sorted into categories. After teachers implement the cultural loaded activities, I believe their cultural awareness will be stimulated. At the same time, they will be equipped with the appropriate teaching tools in the instruction of reading comprehension. And that is my intended capstone project. Thank you for listening.